Before we get into the subject, friends, I have a question for you. When was the last time you were walking around a supermarket and thought about what it might mean if the shelves were empty next week? But this isn't a movie. It's not a news story about some other place either, friends. It's your grocery store, your neighborhood. Next week, most people haven't given this question a second thought. And that's the difference between the assumption that food will always be available and the reality of just how fragile that assumption really is. My friends, that's exactly what this video is about. Friends, here's a topic no one is talking about loudly enough. Global rice prices rose by 14% last year. Wheat costs have doubled in 2 years. Peanut harvests have failed one after another, my friends. Oat markets have seen a 15% spike in some regions. These aren't random fluctuations. These are early warning signs. Historically, the kind of signals that emerged not during the collapse, but before it. And here's the part that concerns us. By the time these signs become glaringly obvious to everyone. When headlines break and photos of empty shelves start circulating, the window of opportunity to act has already closed. It's not just narrowing, it's completely shut up. So what actually separates those who are prepared from those who aren't? My friends, 5 foods. That's really all it takes. 5 strategically selected and properly stored foods will realistically meet your needs for calories, protein, fat, morale, and resilience in the face of any possible disruption. It's not a shelter. It's not a year's worth of frozen and dehydrated food packs. It's not 20 different items. It's 5. We'll go through them one by one, my friends. And the 5th one will be a wildcard item. Something almost no one stocks enough of that will save you when everything starts to feel repetitive and overwhelming. Listen up, friends. It gets even more interesting as we go along. Asterisk. First on our list is rice. My friends, let me tell you something. The survival industry really doesn't want you to think too much about. Rice is such an inexpensive, effective, and historically proven food, folks, that there's simply no way to build a profitable business around it. You can't slap a $200 price tag on a 50-kilogram bag of white rice. So what happens instead? You're being steered in a different direction. Frozen stroganoff in military-style packaging, branded, lidded, color-coded emergency buckets, tactical meal kits with names that sound like special operations missions. All of this is designed to make you spend a lot more money and store a lot less actual nutritional value. My friends, people who are quietly and truly prepared don't do any of this. They buy rice in bulk, store it properly, and don't talk about it online. It's not flashy, but it's extremely effective. They don't talk about it. It's not flashy, but it's extremely effective. Here's the math that doesn't lie. A 50-pound bag of rice costs about $25, my friends, and that provides thousands of real, sustained calories. But these aren't snack calories. They don't come in sudden spikes and crashes. They're the kind of calories that will keep you going through physical or mental activities that challenge you all day long. Compare this figure to any other food with a long shelf life, in terms of both calories and dollars, and rice wins by a landslide. But rice's true power lies not just in what it offers on its own, but in what it enables. When combined with beans, you have a complete protein source, with the same amino acid profile as meat without the need for refrigeration, cost, or risk of spoilage. Add a can of vegetables, and you have a full meal. Add salt and oil, and you still have something that can truly sustain a person in an emergency. Rice pairs well with almost anything, and requires almost no extras. This isn't a new discovery. Civilizations have built themselves on rice. Armies have survived for months on rice. Populations have grown thanks to it. Rice's history as a staple food for survival predates the existence of most nations. Storage is where most people usually go wrong. They grab a bag, stash it in the pantry, and think they're done. That bag will become unusable within a few months. Moisture, oxygen, and pests will ruin it before you even need it. The correct method involves using mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and food-grade airtight containers. When done right, this $25 investment turns into a 30-year food supply. Rice stored properly today can last longer than you do. This isn't a marketing claim, it's chemistry. Prices are changing every day. The opportunity to build your rice supply at current costs is available right now. And this opportunity won't last forever. A flood, an export ban, a supply chain issue, and that $25 bag could jump to $50. Those who act now, even if it seems unnecessary, will stay calm. Those who wait will be left in line. If your food supply doesn't start with rice, you don't have a plan, you have a series of intentions. Friends, do you have rice properly stored in your stockpile? Let's discuss in the comments. Second on our list is beans, my friends. This is exactly what people first started thinking about and were truly surprised by. When rice and beans are eaten together, the amino acid profiles of the two proteins complement each other so perfectly that you get the same nutritional value as you would from eating chicken, beef, or fish. No need to hunt. No need for a freezer. No need to worry when the power goes out. Just too inexpensive. Long-lasting foods together provide what your body needs to function under stress. For centuries, all civilizations lived on these foods. It wasn't because they had no other options. It's because this combination was truly the most suitable and efficient one. It's not a compromise made when better options disappeared. It's actually the answer. Now let's look at what the survival market is steering people toward. Dried meat equals high cost per calorie, short shelf life, and low nutritional value relative to its cost. My friends, protein powder, on the other hand, isn't designed for calorie emergencies that last weeks or months. It's made for the gym culture. Freeze-dried meat products cost more than a restaurant meal and rely on cooking infrastructure that might not be available during a real crisis. And beans, we're ignoring them, friends, because they're too ordinary to take seriously. It's important that they're ordinary. Ordinary means they've never been marketed in an exaggerated way. Ordinary means they actually work when put to the test. Would you believe me if I told you that dried beans, properly stored in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, can last 20 to 30 years? This isn't just a shelf life, it's the kind of stability you can pass on to future generations. Canned beans require no preparation, no soaking, no fuel, no water, and no waiting. The moment you open the can, no matter what's happening outside, you have instant access to protein. My friends, a pound of dried beans costs $1 to $2 and provides 6 to 8 hearty servings. That's complete protein for less than 20 cents per meal. There's nothing in even a branded survival kit that comes close to this efficiency. Prices have already changed. In some markets, prices for beans, lentils, and chickpeas have risen by 15 to 20% over the past year. This is squeezing supply while demand remains steady. What costs $1 today won't cost $1 when the next major event hits. Friends. Rice keeps you alive. Rice and beans together make you truly strong. Make this combination the foundation of your diet, and you'll be meeting your two most critical nutritional needs with the most cost-effective and proven duo in human history. Friends, don't forget this. Stock up on plenty of it in your pantry so you don't go hungry. And third on our list is oats, my friends. This is a product that most people underestimate and later regret, wishing they had stocked up more. We experience the same thing every time. Oats solve a problem that rice and beans can't. Rice requires constant heat, plenty of water, and a long cooking time, doesn't it, friends? Beans, on the other hand, require soaking, fuel, and patience. But in a situation where fuel is scarce, water is limited, and time is of the essence, none of these options will offer you a quick solution, friends. Oats, on the other hand, require only a small amount of hot water and a few minutes. If the situation is truly dire, we can even eat oats without cooking them at all. Try eating raw rice. Try eating unsoaked dried beans. The result will be tasteless and unnutritious. There's a specific issue, rarely mentioned in preparation guides: the breakfast crash. People focus on stocking up for main meals and don't prepare something quick, nutritious, and easy for the morning. They start the day on an empty stomach, or with a sugary snack they happen to have on hand. Mornings are crucial in case of a setback. The energy you have in the first 2 hours of the day directly influences every decision you make and every action you take afterward. My friends, oats provide sustained, slow-burning energy that lasts for hours. It's not a sudden spike followed by a crash. It's real fuel. Oats are so versatile that they quietly outperform almost everything on this list. Mix them with honey and dried fruit for a complete breakfast. Add powdered milk for extra calories and protein. Stir them into broth with a bouillon cube for a hot, flavorful meal. Grind them into flour for flavor. Use it as a thickener for soups. Enrich your other dishes without complicating your supplies with extra ingredients. Oats adapt to whatever you have on hand, my friends. It allows you to make the best use of your resources without having to carry 20 extra ingredients. Food fatigue, documented in studies on long-term dietary changes, is a much more serious condition than it appears. People stop consuming enough calories, not because the food runs out, but because the psychological burden of endlessly repeating the same meal becomes truly unbearable. Oats significantly reduce this risk because they can be prepared in many different ways with minimal additional resources. Storage is quite simple. Oatmeal lasts 1 to 2 years under standard pantry conditions. When sealed in mylar bags containing oxygen absorbers, it can last up to 10 years. Steel-cut oats and whole oat grains can last 20 to 30 years when stored in food-grade airtight containers. Store them in smaller portions so you don't have to open your entire stock at once. My friends, a 42-ounce container of oatmeal costs less than $5. That means weeks of reliable breakfasts for the price of a single meal at a restaurant. Oat prices rose by 15% in some regions last year. The grain supply is more fragile than it appears from the outside. Before weather events or export restrictions drive up costs, stock up on this supply now at current prices. Yes, my friends, don't overlook oats or you'll go hungry, but I'm sure you all have plenty in your pantries. Fourth on our list, my friends, are flour and wheat grains. Here's something most baking guides get completely wrong about, or know about, flour. Either they give up on using it because storing it seems complicated, or they view it as a nice optional extra. Both of these approaches overlook what flour actually does in the event of a prolonged disruption. Rice, beans, and oats keep you full. Flour, on the other hand, makes you feel human. This is a truly meaningful distinction, and people can't fully grasp how important it is until they reach the 10th or 14th day of rationing. Think about what changes when flour is present versus when it isn't. Beans from a cold can are like a calorie-for-calorie exchange. Beans in a flour tortilla, however, feel like a meal you've chosen to eat. This psychological difference, the sense of normalcy, the feeling of having done something rather than just consumed, it is not insignificant under prolonged stress. It is one of the key factors determining whether people can maintain their ability to make rational decisions or begin to break down emotionally. Morale is not a matter to be taken lightly in survival scenarios. Morale is what keeps people functioning, even without yeast, baking powder, or any special equipment. Flour turns into flatbread over any heat source: water, flour, salt, a skillet, or a heated flat surface. The result is portable, filling, and triggers the part of the brain that associates eating with normality. Add a simple leavening agent, and you get biscuits, plain bread, or pancakes. The range of possibilities flour offers is, in this context, almost broader than that of any other single ingredient. Storage is a real issue. Flour in a standard kitchen bag will spoil or become infested with insects within a few months. When stored in mylar bags containing oxygen absorbers, shelf life extends to 5 years or more. For serious long-term planning, whole wheat grains are the best choice. Whole, unprocessed grains that protect their contents from oxygen and moisture. When properly stored in food-grade containers, wheat grains remain stable for decades and can be ground into fresh flour when needed. Those who store wheat grains and a hand mill gain a renewable flour source that no pre-ground bag can provide in the long term. Global wheat prices have doubled in 2 years. Drought, fertilizer costs, and export restrictions are squeezing supply from multiple angles simultaneously. A $5 bag of flour won't stay at $5. Stock up on flour in the short term. Stock up on wheat in the long term. Both are part of a complete supply strategy. And here we are, fifth on our list. Peanut butter, my friends. This is the surprise factor. And almost nobody stocks up on enough of it. Most nutrients are built on carbohydrates. Rice, beans, oats, flour. Every item on this list is primarily carbohydrate-based. This foundation is sound and necessary. However, a diet lacking sufficient fat has a documented breaking point, and that point arrives much sooner than most people expect. There is a historical and physiological phenomenon that has been thoroughly documented by explorers and records of survival in the wild, sometimes referred to as rabbit starvation. This condition explains what happens when people consume only lean protein and carbohydrates without sufficient dietary fat for an extended period. The body requires fat to absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K. Without dietary fat, cognitive function declines, hormonal systems begin to malfunction, the immune response weakens, and thermoregulation breaks down. This is not a theoretical scenario. It is a documented outcome with a clear biological mechanism. Peanut butter completely fills this gap, affordably and without any preparation. A single tablespoon contains approximately 200 calories. A sealed jar provides about 3,000 calories, and the retail price ranges from $2 to $4. This equates to a cost of less than 15 cents per 100 calories. It is cheaper than protein bars and freeze-dried survival foods, and more versatile than both. Zero prep required. Open the jar. Eat. No fire, no water, no fuel, no equipment, no time. In any situation where every resource comes at a significant cost. Food that demands nothing from you, in exchange for its nutritional value, is worth far more than the price tag suggests. It offers versatility that integrates seamlessly with everything on this list. Spread it on flatbread, made from your flour supply. Mix it into oatmeal, and feel the difference in calories and flavor instantly. Stir it into beans to add richness and depth. Eat it straight from the jar while traveling, or whenever you have no cooking facilities. Peanut butter enhances the flavor of every other item on this list, when added. There's one more factor often avoided in preparation discussions, because it feels inconvenient. Barter value. If everyone around you is eating rice and beans, and no one has thought to stockpile oil, peanut butter becomes a form of currency. It's compact, universally recognized, calorie-dense, incredibly comforting, and genuinely desirable. A single jar holds bargaining power that no sack of grain can match. People trade for what they need and what they want. Peanut butter sits right at the intersection of both. Pistachio crops are already under pressure. Due to drought conditions and rising input costs, prices rose by nearly 10% last year. When the next supply shortage hits, pistachio butter sells out quickly, not because people are stockpiling it, but because it's already a daily staple in most homes. Everyone reaches for it at the same time, and the shelves empty out fast. The jar you stock today will be the one you won't have to search for when everyone else is looking for it. These 5 items aren't a complete system, but they form a foundation. They create the minimum viable structure that distinguishes a real plan from a pantry filled with good intentions but no results. Rice meets your calorie needs for decades. Beans provide the protein that rice alone cannot supply. Oats offer a quick morning energy boost when cooking options are limited. Flour and wheat grains boost morale and make meals feel like real food. Peanut butter fills the fat gap that a carbohydrate-heavy diet always leaves open. The topics they address together include calories, protein, fat, fiber, versatility, and the psychological aspect of sustainable nutrition, a dimension rarely mentioned in any preparation guide. Prices for these products are currently in flux. At current costs, the opportunity to build this inventory is wide open. However, this opportunity won't last forever. Supply chains are already under pressure, as can be seen in commodity markets, shipping data, and regional production reports if you know where to look. During the next crisis, the calm and well-prepared people will be those who haven't done anything dramatic. They will have made 5 quiet, inexpensive decisions before feeling any sense of urgency. Here's your question for the comments. If you could stockpile just one of these 5 products in as large a quantity as possible, which one would you choose and why? I read every comment, and these answers truly shape what happens next. If this message reached you while the shelves are still stocked, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can't even begin to imagine how important this is. Invest wisely. Act now, because by the time you need to act, the window of opportunity will already be closed.